Welcome to the Virgin River Cafe. I'm Tracy.
I'm Gigi.
This is our second episode. Kind of exciting. We're just getting started. Pull up a chair, have a seat. What am I drinking today? Today I have an iced coffee with a sort of a cinnamon dolce syrup in it, slightly sweetened with a little bit of sweetened cold foam on top. Thought that sounded really good. What are you drinking today, Gigi?
Today I'm going all cool.
Mm,
I'm having a green tea lemonade with slices of lemon inside my green tea lemon drink.
tasty.
Very, very refreshing.
Nice. Very good. All right, well, let's get started.
This is season 1, episode 2, called Lost.
And the summary given is after finding an abandoned baby on Doc Mullins' doorstep, Mel and her boss argue over whether to call social services or find the newborn's mother. All right, so here we are, episode 2. Mel and Jack bringing this little bundle of joy that they've found on the doorstep into the office. Jack seems pretty comfortable with the baby, which is kind of interesting. I mean, he's a military guy, 20 years. He don't seem like he'd be the type to be comfy with a baby, but he seems to be doing a great job. There is a continuity thing. This scene always bugged me every time I saw it, and I know it's like once you know it and you see it, you can't unsee it. So it's kind of funny. So she asked Jack to take off the sweater and everything and unwrap the baby because she needs to check the baby out. And she has the stethoscope and she's listening for the baby's heartbeat and everything. And when you're watching it, she doesn't have the stethoscope in her ears. She's listening for the baby's heart, but there's no stethoscope in her ears. But
I didn't notice.
I know.
No, but then if you look at another scene.
Right, but then the scene continues and she has them in her ears. So the first half of it she doesn't, which is just like once you can't unsee it. It's a continuity thing. It's me being picky. I'm sometimes too observant.
But you have to remember, they always say never work with animals and children. So there's a possibility that this was a very fussy baby at some point.
And they had to do the scene obviously more than once.
Right.
Clearly.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that could probably understand the continuity difference because of that.
Yeah, they had to probably, I mean, like many scenes, they do multiple times. So that makes sense.
When you're working with a baby, there's no predictability where that's concerned.
Yes, and you would know. I mean, just a little tidbit. Gigi, she's a night nanny. She takes care of babies. She takes care of babies from the time they're born to sometimes up to 3 and 4 months old. She knows what she speaks. For sure. I'm a mom of 2, so, I have some experience with babies. It's just been a minute because my kids are older now. So they're checking out this baby, and baby looks good, healthy, baby's clean. She checks the baby. Oh, the baby is not a he, the baby's a she. Okay. Baby is very tiny, you can tell, very young. She picks the baby up, the note falls on the ground. Jack looks at it and, I'm sorry, but she'll be better off with someone else. Please take care of her. I'm doing this because I love her. So someone felt this was the thing they needed to do. Now she's learned. You don't do anything without telling Doc, because if Doc isn't involved with this, she's in hot water.
There will be hell to pay.
Exactly. She's like, well, where's Doc? Now, Jack, I would love to know how Jack always knows where everyone is, what everyone's doing. And I'm guessing they stop in the bar maybe to get coffee or breakfast or lunch or something. And that's why he knows. But he's like, oh, he's in, I don't know, I think it's Myers Flat. And there's no cell service. So you're not going to reach him. He's unavailable.
Now, it's interesting enough that this is a town in Northern California and cell service is patchy. I don't even understand why people have phones because nothing works.
Nothing works.
There's no unless it's a landline. The cell phone service in this town sucks.
Yeah, they mention that often. That's like a running, almost like a joke, a running theme that there's bad cell service and they can't reach you here, they can't reach you there. Mm-hmm.
It's terrible. It's just so bad.
Apparently, Doc is incommunicado for however long he's gone. And Mel's like, well, we need to talk to social services. So she, of course, has to venture into his office and try to find a phone number. And Jack offers to hold the baby, which is very sweet. He's so cute with the baby. He's cute anyway, but
Yeah.
he's cute with the baby. And she's like, we need diapers, we need formula. And he knows who to call. Oh, no problem. Let me just, gets his phone out. Apparently the cell service works enough that he can call somebody to bring things. It's convenient. So she's got to find this phone number. He's going to call Connie because Connie is the person who you call when you need diaper and formula, apparently. And he's just so cute. Rocking the baby and holding the baby. And he's all
decides to sing a song to the baby.
I know. It's so cute. He can't sing. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Jack.
He has many talents, but singing is not one.
And maybe if he were to do karaoke, we'd have a different feeling. I don't know. Maybe, but this little ditty, not so good. But that's okay.
Yes.
He does. You know what? He doesn't have to sing. It's okay. He could just stand there and smile and hold the baby, and we're fine. We're fine with that. Yeah. So he's singing "Proud Mary, Keep on Burning," which is very cute.
Yes.
I mean, of all the things to sing, really. So she thinks it's funny. She walks in. She's like, rolling. He's like, rolling on the river. Credence. It's like, well, it was better than AC/DC. And she's like, really? Because, Ride don't always put me to sleep. He just laughs. He's like, who are you? Oh, a nurse that knows her medal. And who walks in? Doc.
Mr. Grumpy himself.
Mm-hmm. He has to take the baby right away. She's like, the baby's about 3 weeks old. I checked her out. She's good. A little underweight, but, She's like, we need to call social services. Oh, they're in Eureka. They don't open for another hour. And this is what you're supposed to do. I mean, I used to be a social worker. Yeah, you don't just not do anything. You're supposed to make the phone call. So, oh, this is my office. This is my patient. I'm going to decide. He is large and in charge. And he's like, no, we're not calling any agencies. And if you don't agree, you know where the door is. And what is she going to do? I mean, at this point, she doesn't have a choice. So he just hold the baby. He goes in his office and shuts the door, and God knows what he's doing. And Jack's like, well, at least he didn't fire you. And the day is young. And in walks Hope.
Like a bat out of hell.
Mm-hmm. She has no idea. Oh, cute baby. She has no idea what's going on. Goes in, and she's... I don't know. Sometimes she's like a toddler. She needs attention right away. Like she walks in and she's staring at him like, you need to talk to me. You need to look at me. You need to have a conversation with me right now.
She's like a house on fire.
Yeah.
There is no stopping. There's no stopping Hope. I'm sorry.
Oh,
she needs attention ASAP.
Yeah. He's on the phone. He's trying to figure out what to do. And in walks
Annie.
Diapers, formula. She is ready. And she's like a little grandma. She's so cute. She's just adorable. I just love. I mean, she's a tough cookie, but I love Connie.
Well, she's a spitfire, honey.
Isn't she? And
yeah.
So she grabs the baby. She holds the baby, and Mel's like, "Oh, we gotta get formula. We need hot water." Jack knows what to do. He grabs the formula, grabs the bottle. He's off. He goes, and she looks at Mel, and she was like, "Oh, they said you were a looker." Right. And Jack's like, well, I only said you were mildly attractive. It's like, really? Jack has to introduce them. And Connie's like, oh, sorry. Everyone knows who you are. We find out that Connie owns the general store. She makes it her business to know everyone. Jack,
everybody's
of course. Yeah. Whether everybody likes it or not, that's what she does.
Welcome to the saying of the Mrs. Kravitz.
Yep. She is meet Connie, Mrs. Kravitz.
Yes.
Familiarize yourself with the busybody of the show. The main busybody. There's a lot of them, but she's the main one.
She's the main one.
So she's trying to figure out who this baby belongs to. Oh, she kind of looks like, Mimi something or another. And Jack's like, Mimi's 72. It's like, oh, but Mimi has a granddaughter. And now when was prom? Like,
exactly.
And the look the two of them give each other is just hysterical. Like, seriously? So she's going to activate the Virgin, and I love it. She says it with an accent, the Virgin River phone tree. It's like, okay. And Mel's like, great. And the phone, what phone tree is what? Oh, town emergency. Everybody calls everybody. They'll figure it out. Everybody will find out, and hopefully somebody will know something, and we can get this figured out. So here they are trying to feed this baby, who is not having it.
This baby is not having it. This baby is just not having it.
No. And Doc is on the phone just calling who he needs to call to try and figure this out. And Hope is pissed, just sitting there waiting. And she's like, oh, we've got big trouble. Yes, the abandoned baby. What? Wait a minute. Wait. Like, her trouble she's thinking of is not the trouble he's thinking of, because she's got a one-track mind. But he was trying to call Grace Valley, which is the next town over, to try and figure out maybe who this baby belongs to. Hope is like, oh no, we have bigger problems. Mel is gonna leave. She's put in her notice. And he's like, I can't worry about that right now. We got to deal with social services. We got to deal with this baby. So it's like everybody's got a big problem. Like, everybody's got something going on. He's trying, and she's like, well, what are you going to do? He's like, what do you think I'm trying to do? Like, seriously. You promised Mel 30 days. There's only 29 left. And I love it. He's like, oh, well, it's like a kid. Oh, 29 more days. It's like Christmas countdown. She's like, you're an ass. And he's like, no time for sweet talk. She's not happy that she gave notice, but he says, well, that's Mel's problem. If she wants to leave, then let her leave. So Doc packs up something, and he packs up his doctor bag, and he's off to figure it out. Like, he's going to deal with it. Now, you would know because you deal with babies, but Doc says, oh, she won't take the bottle, put a little honey on it. And Mel's like, oh, there's a risk of botulism.
You don't give babies honey until after a year old. Yeah. So the fact that he is wanting Mel to put honey is sacrilege for anybody who takes care of babies, because we know that is just, between water and honey, they're both bad things to give babies. Mm-hmm. So he's just, she's losing it. And he's just, well, when she's hungry, she'll eat. And that's true. When babies are hungry, they'll eat. But that doesn't mean you give them honey.
Yeah, don't give them something that they shouldn't have, too. So he's like, well,
my head almost...
I know, right? Exactly. Oh my God. I know. I was thinking about you. I'm like, oh, Gigi must be going, really? Like, seriously? Like, why would you do that? So he asks Mel, well, I can leave her with you. It's like, I'm a midwife. I'm a nurse practitioner. I'm a certified nurse. Well, is that a yes? She's like, of course. She's trying her hardest.
I hate to repeat Hope's words, but he's such an ass.
Yeah, I know.
At this point, you know what I mean?
She's finally eating, which is good. And you're like, oh, well, if she has more problems, we might have to call in a specialist. And he's like, but wait, you're a midwife, aren't you? And she's like, well, feeding issues is a subspecialty. And I love his line, Christ on a cracker. Like, all these people have these funny little sayings. It cracks me up.
Yeah, but you can tell how far it's come since, as far as medical care has come, because you and I both know when we were growing up, we had one doctor for everything.
Oh yeah,
I think most of it. Okay, and it's the same thing in this town. You have one doctor, and unless it's something really bad,
really specific,
right, you get sent to Clear River. It seems to be the bigger town away from Virgin River. But Doc was the doctor for everything. Her telling him there's a specialty for what this baby may be going through is cracking me up, because it's true. Yeah. What one nurse does for one thing doesn't mean that she specializes in that particular problem. So he's flawed by the fact that all these things that different doctors and nurses do, and instead of everybody just being lump summed into one compartment.
Exactly. So Doc leaves. He's off to do who knows what. Whatever. I don't know. He's off on a mission. Whatever that mission is, I'm sure will be clear soon enough. And Jack is getting a phone call.
Yes, and, he is.
I got to call you back. Oh, I'm in the middle of something. Yeah, I'll call you later. Like, okay.
It's very hush-hush.
Mm-hmm. Very, very hush-hush. Yeah, so that's interesting. Now, they're trying to figure out where this baby came from. Could the person be in town? Could they have been passing through? And Hope is like, Doc is not good with babies. He's not really that great with big people as well as babies. So
it's also the fact that at this point, Hope is trying to sweet talk Mel into staying.
Because she's already got one foot out the door. And she's like, oh, we got to get that foot back in.
Right. And so she's basically hoping that Mel's instincts and Mel's caring for babies is going to kick in,
and hopefully we'll keep her there, and that's the goal. So she's trying. Oh, Doc's packing up. He's getting his. I love it. I'm not finished with you, old man. And she chases after him. I think it's funny how she She just, all over him.
And Mel's looking at two of them like, what have I gotten myself
Right?
into?
And I mean, she just basically says, she's very straight with him. She's like, look, Mel gave her notice because you won't let her do what she came here to do. If you want to really try her out, then you have to actually let her do her job. His thing is, it's his business. Can't let her just do coffee. And she's a nurse. She's not a secretary. So he calls her City Soft because he thinks that Mel went crying to Hope, which is really not what happened. I mean, she was voicing her opinion, but it's true. She can't do her job if he won't let her.
And the fact that Hope is trying to say she's dealt with criminals in the big city.
Oh yeah.
And he's even worse than the criminals.
Right. Like she can deal with criminals, but it's you. Like, really? Hope is informing Jack that Mel is serious about leaving, that she told me to start looking for a replacement, and Jack is like, no, she's exactly what this town needs. And Hope is like, yeah, but how are we going to get her to stay? And he was like, well, I'm heading over to the cabin. I'm going to speed things up with the remodel. And why don't you take your time looking for a replacement? Because if I can hurry up and finish the cabin and you can take your time, then we can maybe warm her up a little bit to Virgin River. Between the two of us, maybe we can make her see how wonderful Virgin River is. A little more attractive. Jack's like, yeah, whatever I need to do. Like he's all over that. Whatever he can do. Mel is still trying to feed this poor baby who is just not really wanting to eat. It's tough. It's not her baby, and she's literally spending all day just hugging and holding and trying to feed this baby. And then her sister calls. I'm not thrilled with her sister. I got to tell you.
Well, her sister is a big sister, and really she feels that she knows what's best for Mel. And the fact is that Mel is holding a baby, and her sister is concerned that
she's like, is this a good idea? Isn't there somebody that can come help you or give you a break?
Right.
She's treating her like she's like something. There's definitely more to the story.
Right.
She's worrying about her. She's like, I'm not fragile. Like I'm a midwife. Like, this is my job. Babies are my job. Like, why are you so worried about me? But
we don't know the backstory as to why her sister is concerned.
No.
Now it's an adorable baby.
Yeah.
A cute baby.
So she says that she's put in her notice. Joey is thrilled. And she's like, I'll make up the guest room. You can come in as Lady Joey. She goes, no. I'm not leaving until they find a replacement. So cool your jets there, sister.
And also, she is not going back to LA.
Right.
Even though her thinks that's what she means. Now we have a whole different dynamics now.
It's too many memories. She's like, but this is your home, your family and friends. She's like, no, you don't get it. And she doesn't understand why she's pushing everybody away. And Mel's like, I'm doing what I need to do. This is my life. You're always trying to fix me. You can't fix me. Can't fix my life. If you don't get that, then I can't help you. There's clearly something happened. And for whatever reason, Mel does not feel like she can go back to LA. And there's memories. And there's something there.
On her sister.
Oh, yeah. She's like, I'm so done with you.
Yeah.
So we have another flashback.
Yes. And we have a picture of two little girls in the bedroom looking through a photo album. And one little girl goes, I was a fat baby. And her older sister turns the page fast. And she wants to know what's going on. And she says, we'll get into trouble. But we're best friends. We tell each other everything.
Yeah.
And so now here's where things get interesting.
Yeah, and so she turns the page back and she's like, Mom's not holding you in that picture. It's our sister Chloe. And she's like, Chloe? And she's like, oh, she died before you were born. And she's like, oh, what? We had a sister? Like, nobody told me this. And don't tell Mom I told you. Oh my gosh, she will get really mad because they're best friends. She promises she'll never tell. She crosses her heart and hopes to die. They love, they're like, I love you. And she calls her Squirt, which is really cute. She calls her little sister Squirt. So that's thinking about that because, they are best friends and sisters fight, sisters argue, they disagree. It's normal. She sees this baby and it just reminds her of this little sister that she never got to meet, who passed away before she was born.
And she names the baby Chloe.
Yes.
Well, she just said Chloe when she looked at the baby. That's what I said.
So here we are back at the cabin and Oh my God.
And it even looked worse in the
I was
daytime
just
than
going
it
to say that it looks even worse in the daylight. I mean, this place
worse
is
in the daytime. Oh
horrendous.
my God, it's so run over. I mean, it's not only run down, it's run over with
Yeah,
all these vines and branches and oh my God, it's
it's bad.
deplorable.
It's bad.
I don't know how Hope thought this was going to be work out.
Maybe she only goes there at night. It doesn't look as bad.
I don't understand that. I mean, but she was the one who sent the picture to Mel.
Yeah, well,
So
she lied.
I
So.
know she knew what her cabin looked like.
Mm-hmm. Ricky is there. He's helping to clean this place up, and apparently Jack's paid him $20 an hour, and he's like, "Hey, you pay for some college. This will be good for you." And Ricky informs him that's not the kind of job he wants. That he wants to be a Marine, and I think in a way Jack's sort of, I don't know, he kind of looks surprised in a way. It's like, well, what is your grandmother gonna say about that? It's like, well, I kind of was hoping you might want to help me tell her. Because that's going to be a tough conversation to have. And he offers to. He's like, yeah. But he sort of like gives him the dad talk. Like, okay, but you got to play at a couple schools as a backup just in case. But yeah, I'll do that for you. Sort of like a dad figure, which is really nice. We don't know much about Ricky. All we know is he has a grandmother.
And then Ricky drops
Glass.
Jack has a flashback.
Yes, he gets startled, and there's a flashback of him in the war, and it's just a quick one, but it's enough that the look on Jack's face. There's some history there.
Yeah, that's a look of terror on his face.
And he brushes it off to, oh, I just had too much coffee. Clean that up, let's get to work. He's a little startled, taking a deep breath, and he has this little flask. He takes a little swig of it. That's going to get him through. Puts that away, and we're going to go about our day. Now, they have a lot of work to do on this cabin.
That's an understatement.
Yeah. So we're back at the clinic. Someone walks in. Her name is Lily, and she's got a bouncy seat. She's got a stroller. She goes, I've got 4 grown children, and none of them are going to make me a grandmother anytime soon. So here, maybe you can put all this stuff to use. So Mel is thrilled. That's so helpful. And she's like, I'm getting concerned because the baby's not eating, and so I know you've told me about this before, about the dream feeding. Why don't you explain that?
Dream feeding. So the dream feeding is generally dream feedings happen at nighttime. It's not something that happens at daytime. And moms dream feed because it's considered the last feed of the night. That gives them a longer length of time to sleep. So generally dream feeds happen anywhere between 10, 11 o'clock at night. And hopefully that will carry them through to the next couple of hours. Now it's done on babies that are past 2 months or more, because at that time, after that, they tend to have a long sleeping pattern. But you don't do it with newborns. That's not something you do with newborns.
I think she was desperate, though. I mean, at this point, this kid's not eating.
At this point, she's desperate. At this point, she's desperate because she wants the baby to eat. So what happens is when you dream feed, the baby is just working on instinct, and they sense the nipple or they sense the breast, and they just open their mouth automatically and they start to eat.
And that's what she was hoping, hopefully.
That's what she's hoping for while doing this dream feed with the baby.
Lily, of course, is like, wow, that's fascinating. I've never seen that before. And in walks Connie. Now,
yes.
She
looked like Connie is walking in there, and she stomps in there, and she is about to knock somebody out.
Yeah, she hears from somebody and doing the phone tree that she's going to give that baby away. And she's like, oh, it's a misunderstanding. But at some point, somebody may have to call child services. And she's like, well, says Hugh, in the state of California. It's like, well, that's how they handle the situation. She's like, well, Doc hasn't done it yet. And she's just going to have to, social services isn't the enemy. Everybody wants the baby to be with the mother, but we just can't wait. We can't wait too long. They're going to wait a little bit, but they're not going to wait too long. She's like, well, why can't we keep the baby?
This is my favorite line, though.
Why can't we keep her?
As Mel says, she's not a puppy.
Yep. I love that. And
That
she's
is
like,
like a
look,
classic.
I'm just trying to help. I mean, you got to do what's right for the baby. It has nothing to do with what you want. It's Connie takes such offense. We don't need
Oh,
outsiders and telling us how to live and you city girls and da da da, big city types. And she thinks she lumps everybody together, all these city types. And she's like,
mm,
oh, right to Lily. Come on, Lily, you agree with me, right? And Lily's just like,
right there, and
yeah.
not saying anything.
She's just, and Mel is like, oh, like, seriously, this is what I have to deal with. Like, I'm
Yeah.
trying to do the right thing. I'm trying to make sure this baby is taken care of. Who? And she just keeps trying to feed her. Just wants this baby to eat. Now we're at Jack's bar. Brady, who is now bussing
Oh,
tables. Jack walks in. He's talking to Preacher, and it's been busy. They must have had a breakfast rush. Preacher has comments. Oh my.
oh yes, he does.
And Jack is like, look, Brady's here. He's less in trouble when he's working and he's got something to do. Let's just work with it.
But the problem that preacher has is that he's broken dishes, glasses, and
He's a mess.
he's just making. Yeah, he's a mess.
Yeah, and Preacher's like, yeah, I got to empty the dishwasher so Brady has more things to break. It's a shame. It's a shame. Brady does not want this job, but he doesn't care enough.
Mm-hmm.
So we're back at the clinic, and this older gentleman walks in and is looking for Doc. And Mel is still trying to deal with the baby, and he's like, "Oh, I'm the new nurse." He's like, "Oh, yep, I know who you are, but I don't know. You're a lady. I'm looking for Doc." Like he's old fashioned. He's old fashioned,
Yeah,
and that's fine. And
old school.
yeah, that's fine. And he's asking about the baby. Is that the one that everybody's talking about? And it's like, yeah.
And she says we call her Chloe.
Yes. And he's like, oh, I knew a collie named Chloe. She was a good herder. It's like, oh, okay, thanks for sharing. So, but he's looking for Doc because he doesn't want to deal with lady doctors. And she's so done with everybody at this point and all the judgment and all the comments that she's just like, okay, sure, whatever. I'll let him know you were here. And he comes back and he's like, people are talking about you wanting to call social services. I get it because he was adopted. And he had good foster parents that turned into real parents. And that's like perfect timing that she kind of needed to hear that.
Yeah.
It sort of gives her a little bit of encouragement that even this person who she doesn't know from anybody, his name's Charlie, she doesn't know him from anybody. Kind of nice that somebody seemed to be on her side because there's definitely a few people that are not. So then we see Jack and our first introduction with Paige's bakery truck. Paige is there and Jack. It's adorable. It is adorable. And it moves around. You'll see it in different locations. It's in a park. It's, it's all over the place. True. Sometimes it's in her driveway. He wants a latte. And Paige is like, a latte? By Jack, I don't think I've ever steamed milk for you before. And she's like, oh, it's not for me. It's for Mel. Ugh, everything seems right with the world again. Because Jack is not the steamed milk kind of guy.
Exactly. And she's the only one who does not have her business where she lives.
Yes, that is true.
You know that, right?
Yes, she's so far.
Connie's home is where her business is as well. And family who owns the bed and breakfast.
Yep. Joellen and Nick.
They live where so far everybody, and I think the only exception to that besides her is Hope.
Mm-hmm.
Because Hope's the mayor's office is not where
right.
She lives in her house. But
exactly.
Everybody else seems to have business and home together.
He's like, well, you better make it too. And she's like, wow, is she having a bad day? And he's like, well, she's going through some stuff. Guess Connie had been by earlier. And Jack's like, oh, yeah, thanks to her. She's the talk of the town. Oh, yeah, Connie's got comments for everybody. And Jack is like, being that Paige is a mother, which you'll meet her son in a second. It's like, I can't understand like how a woman could abandon her baby. And Paige is like, well, I mean, we don't know her story. We don't know the situation, but I do whatever I could to protect my son. But, sometimes social services aren't always the best, not a big fan because sometimes they make things worse. We don't know, but, so she's very neutral. And then you see a little boy pop in the picture and it's Christopher. Christopher is Paige's son. He's just a cute little kid.
Cute little kid.
Yeah, she's like, oh, I love you. And he's like, Mom. Jack grabs the 2 lattes and he heads to the clinic. And Mel sees him. She doesn't even let him get through the door. She's already got her hand outstretched, like, oh, please, yes, give me coffee. She's so
I'm
happy
so
to
happy
see
to
you.
see
And then she was not talking about Jack. She's, oh, yeah, I'm so happy to see you too. And she's like, are you not going to join me? He's like, oh, no, they're both for you. Oh, she's like, you, after a sip, because, you know, you got to have a sip first. You're a good man. Oh, you're a good woman. And she's like, then she shares the fact that she did not have a great phone call with her sister. And we find out that Jack has 4 sisters, so he totally gets it. But she's like, well, my sister kind of raised me, and she obviously thinks she knows what's best for me and all that. Still not.
He says, how's
our girl? Yeah, that's true. It's kind of cute.
All of a sudden, this becomes their baby.
In a way.
Okay, which I find
indirectly
is so cute.
Yes, that is very cute.
You know.
So she's questioning,
yeah.
where could this mother be? She could be in another state by now. I mean, who even knows? And he tries, now this is where he has to kind of explain to Mel why Doc is the way he is, why he's doing what he's doing. Because she's questioning, you know, like, never. I mean, you don't throw procedure out the window. This is not how things are done. Like, you can't ignore the rules and have nothing in its place. And he must not have ever worked anywhere else. And he's like, oh, no. He worked in Seattle. He was the head of internal medicine. And he's like, oh, he must have gotten fired for not following the rules. He's like, no, he wanted more doctoring and less paperwork. And that's why he opened his practice there. He gets to just be a doctor. There's not a lot of politics when it comes to Virgin River. Because he's got 4 sisters, clearly has nieces and nephews. And he was like, yeah, let me hold her along. Let me do this. Again, cute. Jack holding the baby. I mean, he spent 20 years in the service, understands rules. She's like, there's a place for it. This is where he explains, we're off the beaten path. Rules don't always apply because we kind of...
Tell me about it.
Yeah, we're in the middle of nowhere. We kind of have to rely on each other, and sometimes the rules don't apply. Not saying they shouldn't be rules, but... So she's like, well, sorry if I feel like a phone tree. It's more than what she needs.
Yeah, and he turns and says, I'm on your side.
Yeah.
So just to kind of reassure. And then we go back to a flashback.
Another flashback of Mel getting a latte. And
yeah. But this is where, so the interesting thing about this flashback is it goes to where...
It's out of order.
It's out of order, exactly.
Yeah, from the last flashback.
Right, exactly. So because it should have been the second flashback where after he had patched her up, this is where she re-meets him for the second time when she's getting coffee and he sees her. Right. And now he starts...
Because he's asking her, how is your head? And she's like, better. And they have a little conversation and because she was new at her job. He's like, how do you like the job? And blah, blah, blah. And then they discuss what their interests are and everything. They're not together yet.
Right. Exactly. And he gives her a little history of how he went skydiving, but she
ended up with the skydiving instructor.
Right.
Then this is where we find out that she runs because he's like, well, what do you do when you're not working? I run, but there's really no trail runs around here. And he's like, oh, I've got a few secret spots. And it's a very awkward, I don't know. I feel like this is a very awkward conversation.
Yeah, and this is where we find out what his name is because when she first meets him, they don't introduce themselves.
Right. In the second, exactly. In the second flashback, the one where they're in their apartment, she calls his name. But here, this is where, because he's like, Mark, latte, and then she finds out that that's his name. I mean, I'm sure it was on his name tag when she first met him. But I don't know. I looked at that conversation and it just seemed so awkward. Like he was talking and then he kind of stopped talking and was like looking at her and she kind of looked at him like...
I think that, but I think also the fact is that he was trying to make conversation and didn't know how to make conversation to some degree because he's flirting with her, but he's kind of unsure how to approach her. Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. It's like when you meet somebody for the first time and you sense there's an attraction, but you're not quite sure how to start up a conversation. Yeah. So I think that's what's going on there.
Yeah. I don't know. It was just a little awkward for me. So, but that's fine. Whatever. It's Mark. We meet Mark. So she kind of was in this daydream, and Jack had put the baby to sleep and put her down in the stroller and kind of jostled her out of her daydream. And there you go. So the baby's comfortable, and he has to get back to the bar because Preacher might kill Brady. And she's like, oh, what? They don't get along? It's like, the only thing they have in common is their deep hatred for each other, which is funny. So she's just sitting there like contemplating life once more. I swear, she's got it tough. She's not even doing nursing. She's basically babysitting at this point.
That's basically what she's doing is babysitting.
So now we see Doc, and he is driving into what we can possibly assume as the pot camp. He's got his whole back bed of his truck just full of stuff. He's talking to somebody and asking him about his injury. And he was like, oh, the medicine you gave me was great. He's like, yeah, well, that's what happens when you get stabbed. Clearly, Doc is trying to find out who had this baby. So he's asking around. Now, I remember there was a girl here, dark hair. She was very pregnant, blah, blah, blah. Have you seen her? So he's asking around, and there's the guy's like, hey, I know somebody who might know who she's talking about. They were together, and Doc wants to have a conversation because he's looking for this chick. His name's Spencer. So he calls Spencer over, and he's like, yeah, I'm looking for Maxine. And he's like, why? Does she owe you money? It's like everybody's very suspicious in this pot camp, which I get it. They're illegal.
Which I understand because they're doing illegal stuff.
Mm-hmm. And he was like, you pay me for it? Like money for information? No. Well, I don't really remember anything. He's like, well, wait a second. I might remember something, because he gets ready to put his money away. And he's like, I think she's maybe working at a gas station in Clear River. I don't know. Maybe she can raise that damn kid by herself. If you notice, that other guy was kind of giving him a look like, you might not want to say anything.
Say too much. Don't say too much.
Yeah, don't say too much. Say something. Give him a little bit so you can get paid, but, not too much. Doc's there. He's taking care of the people that are there. So he's, okay, I'm here. Who's next? Who can I help? Because I guess he does house calls, apparently, to the pot camp.
Apparently so.
Yeah. Back at the bar, and Brady is cleaning up. He stuck a little money in his back pocket. Not really sure if that was legit or not. Connie?
Yeah, I'm thinking it's a tip, but I'm going to go with that.
I don't know. We'll see. Connie's there, and she's chilling and giving Mel a look. And Hope is there. Oh. Seems like the whole town congregates at Jack's bar.
The whole town is at the bar. Everybody's there.
And they see her walk in. Everybody looks at her, and Preacher's there.
She's
and
got
he was like, oh.
Stroller.
Yes, she has the baby in the stroller. And he was like, oh, I have a new salad. She's like, I'll take that. And he's like, I can make it to go. Because everybody's looking at her. She's a tough cookie. She's like, nope, I'm going to eat it here. I'm good. Hope sits down, and he was like, wow. I love this woman. She just tells it like she sees it. You look tired. You look terrible. You look like you need a break. Well, you could say it a little nicer, but whatever.
Hope is a ray of sunshine, right?
Yeah. She calls Jack over, and she's like, Jack, I think you need to, she's stressed. Babies pick up on that. You need to take her out of here for a little while. You need a break. And so he's like, oh, why don't you take her somewhere? Just a half an hour. No big deal. She's going to watch the baby. And she's like, well, I have my cell phone. Of course you have your cell phone. Go. So she sends the two of them.
That may not work in a town with terrible reception.
Yeah, not like it matters. She's going to watch the baby, and Jack and Mel are off. Here we are. Now, I don't know where this is. I don't know if it's behind the bar or if
I think this is behind the bar because they didn't go. So. It doesn't seem
they didn't go far.
They didn't go far. And remember, this is in the middle of nowhere, so they've got acres and acres to play with, right, as far as I'm concerned.
She's like, I don't know if I'm more impressed that you built this thing in the backyard or that I'm standing here holding a bat with a helmet on. Like, I don't know. I don't know what I think about this.
Yeah, he's got a pitcher's net back there.
Yeah, so he
just practice his batting practice.
Yeah, exactly. The two of them are gonna test out the. He has an automatic ball pitching machine, which is crazy. And the netting. I mean, this is a pretty good size place to hit balls.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, this is
It
no
is.
tiny little thing. I mean, it's like got a top,
No,
a bottom,
no.
sides, to everything.
Mm-hmm.
So she says, "Oh, I'm a runner." And he's like, "Oh, one of those people." And she's like, "What is that supposed to mean?" It's like those people that crave productivity and the same kind of people stress clean. You do that too? She just says he's ridiculous. So she's like, "Well, I used to run track in high school." He was like, "Well, just hit the button, runner." So he hits the ball and she's like, "Oh, I bet I know what you did in high school." Teases her and he's like, "You should let go once in a while." And she's like, "I can let go." She has to try it because it's like a challenge. Like, okay.
Exactly.
And she does a cute little spit in the hands and whatever and cannot hit
I
the
like
ball. Yeah.
I like the little jig.
Yeah. Yeah. She like positions herself and up and down, just, getting ready. And he's like, "Now choke it up a little bit." And she's like, "You're speaking foreign language to me. I don't know what you're talking about." So he fixes her hands and he's moving her hips and he's telling her where to put her feet. It's very cute. Very cute. And of course, she's looking back at him. And then this is where the long stares begin. He's like, "Widen your stance." And she's looking at him and he's looking at her. And he's like, "You might want to keep your eye on the ball." And she's like, "Okay." She's like, "You got this." And she swings and hits the ball. Of course, there's cheering and they finish. Now, it can't be right behind the bar because they're walking, right?
That's
They're
true.
walking up the path. So it can't be that far. I mean, it's got to be, maybe it's where he lives. Maybe it's behind where he lives.
Could
I don't
be,
know. I
yeah.
don't think it was ever explained. I don't know.
No, but there are a lot of things as far as how far things are in this town.
Yeah.
From one dimension to the other is kind of hard to determine.
Yeah, there is a map. There's a map I saw in, I think it's the first book that Robin Carr wrote, which, FYI, if you didn't know, the show is based on a 22-book series written by Robin Carr. Mel and Jack are only main characters in like the first couple books, and then each book is kind of focuses on a different couple or different group of people. It's I would say it's more inspired. The show is inspired by the books because it's not really based on them, because some of the characters are different, some of their backstories are different, some of the things that happen are different, but there's a flavor of it for sure. I think that's true.
Yeah, I would describe it that way. Yeah.
Yeah, from what people say, Jack is much nicer in the books. I don't know if I agree with that.
I don't know about that. I think Jack's pretty nice in the show.
Yeah, I don't know why people say that. I've read that, but I don't know. That's just what's said. Who am I to say? But even Mel's like backstory is different in the book as opposed to the show. So here they are walking back to the bar and they're having a chat about their history a little bit, and he still can't understand why someone would leave their baby. We have to find the mother, got to find this baby's mother. And she of course asks, "Well, are you close with your parents?" And she's like, "Oh, my mom? Yeah, very close." And she's like, "Well, what about your dad?" "Oh, yeah, not so much." And he doesn't see eye to eye with his dad. Never wanted him to be a Marine and basically doesn't agree with his life. He asks her and she's like, "Well, technically I'm an orphan because her mom passed away when she was 11 and her dad about 10 years ago. So now we find out that she has no parents and just her sister. Her mom had cancer and that's why she decided to be a nurse." And she tells the story about how when it's time to say goodbye to her mom, she didn't want to say goodbye. She thought, well, if she doesn't say goodbye, then she can't go anywhere. And she ran and a nurse came to talk to her and kind of helped her through that really rough time and was able to get her to the place where she could help her go in and say goodbye to her mom. Ever since that, that's what she wanted to do for other people. And that's why she became a nurse. She wanted to be that for someone else. And so every time she walks into a doctor's office or a hospital or deals with a patient, it helps her think about her mom. Since it's been a long time. I mean, she was 11, and I think her character is supposed to be mid-30s-ish or so, and Jack's supposed to be early 40s. So, it's been 20 years for her without her mom, and so that's what helps her be close to her mom. She every time, that's why she said every time she deals with a patient, it just, it helps her think about her mom. She kind of gets a little melancholy, and Jack is just like, "Oh, more staring." And she kind of gets a little coy, a little sad, but she's like, "Okay, well, I'm gonna go check on Chloe now." And we find Hope rocking Chloe just kind
Now,
of chilling.
but you notice they're no longer at the bar.
No, they left. And how did she know that? Maybe she texted her. Who knows? Maybe she went to the bar,
Yeah.
couldn't find her, decided to go to the clinic. And she's like, "Oh, you look very natural with the baby."
Here's another classic line
I
that comes
love this. This basically is hope. Like she's like, "Oh God, children are way too much work." She got, "I raise husbands."
from.
How did that work out for you? Well, what is it? One is my soulmate, one is the bane of my existence, and one is the best 3 months of my life. It's like, wow. And she doesn't regret it. She makes choices.
No, she has no regret.
Nope. She makes choices and she lives with the consequences. She feels like her and Mel are alike like that. And Mel's like, "Oh, I know my own mind." And Hope likes that about her, which is nice. And Hope, I mean, she mentioned it before to Doc, who didn't want to hear it, but she's like, at some point she may have to call social services. And Hope questions her about that, and she's like, "Well, I should have probably already called, but we'll see." So she's going to try to feed her again, and in walks Lily. Now, Lily's back by herself. She's got some blankets and some more onesies, and because you can never have too many. And
No, you could never.
Never. Yeah, you can never have too many. She's like, "Chloe?" She's like, "Well, I got to call her something. It's better than calling her baby." So she's like, "Yep." So she's like, "Connie should not have said what she said, and this bringing these is an excuse to come apologize and say she shouldn't have said that, and I should have said something and I didn't." And she's like, "No, it's fine. I'm used to dealing with people when they're upset and angry. It's fine. It's not a big deal." And she's like, "Well, I've had 4 babies. Why don't you go take a shower? I can watch her. I'll try to feed her. It'll be fine." And she's like, "No. I just took a break." And no, it's fine. She has the touch because as soon as she holds the baby calms down. She's like, "Let me try. It'll be fine." And she said none of her kids took the bottle too, so this one's no different. Let me just give it a whirl. Go take a hot shower. Mel's like, "All right, I'm just over at the Fitches," which I'm guessing has to be walking distance because it seems like everything's kind of walking distance.
Everything's walking distance. That's why I said the dynamics of where everything is in this town is relative to how far they want to film something.
Right. And reality wise, certain things are like an hour away from each other because all the location shots are places, actual buildings, houses, cabins. Everything is the town is all real places in and around Vancouver, like within an hour of each other. But everything inside, all the inside of all the cabins and the office and the doctor's office and the clinic and everything is filmed on the set. So they film everything inside, but then if they have to do outside, then that is go on location. Like Jack's Bar is actually a restaurant called the Watershed Grill. It really is exactly there. It's apparently people laugh. They're like, it's not that big inside. Like it's real. There's no way even a sewing circle could have a party in here. Like it's just not that big. So Mel goes and she takes a shower and we're back at the bar.
Oh, but we have to know before she walks out of the clinic, she makes the call
to social
she
services.
makes the dreaded phone call, and then we cross over to Jack's Bar.
Yes,
and then we have the threesome of the arguments between these 3 now.
Yeah, so Brady is giving dirty looks at Preacher, and Preacher's giving dirty looks back, and Brady's like, "I'm out of here," and Jack is like, "Preacher, dude, like you're one of the most forgiving people I know. Why are you like this with Brady?" And it's like, he doesn't want him to be fooled. He's seen Brady do things before. He's seen his path before. And he's like, I can't watch it again. If you really think he's changed, I don't know.
Yeah, Preacher is not willing to give him a break here. Preacher is done with him.
No, he's seen it already. And then we see Jack making a phone call. And he's like, "Yep, I'll be over just a little bit." And he's sighing. He's got a big sigh there.
And the thing about it is the way he ends that phone call and the look on his face.
The contemplation.
Sort of like, the apprehension behind that phone call that tells you, who is this he's talking to?
Yes.
And why does this person seem to stress him out slightly?
Just a little bit.
And makes him uncomfortable because he's not happy after he's done with this
Yeah,
phone
you
call.
can see
It's
the
very,
reluctance on his face.
yeah, exactly.
So then
So
we're at Doc. We're seeing Doc, and
mhm,
Doc is at the Fitches, and he is waiting
yeah.
for Mel, writing in his trusty little book that he seems to carry around all the time. He informs her that he went to the pot camp and he was looking for this woman who the last time he saw her was 7 months pregnant, but she left and tracked her to Clear River, came up. He's been searching all day, looking, and
Mhm.
she was like, yeah, but the baby was clean and dry and fairly well nourished. Like, she couldn't have been from the pot camp. The place has no electricity. It's dirty. There's no way. That doesn't even make sense. So she's trying to explain to him that that's not where she came from. Like, you're on a wild goose chase and you need to let that go. And he's like, well, I'm going to start again in the morning, and Connie or Lily or somebody will watch the baby, and just know that. And she's like, she's still not taking the bottle. Oh, well, babies will eat when they're ready, which, yes, may be true. He's just waiting for no reason. And then she drops the bomb.
Oh,
I
and
called the after hours number. He is
that
not
was it.
happy.
Yeah, he is. He just, as they say, he loses his shit.
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
happy.
And she's like, I shouldn't have waited all day. I did it out of respect for you, but I should have called. And he's like, respect? She's like, look, the baby's welfare is my top priority. And he does not seem to even want to hear her. And he's like, look, I know it's a formality. You already gave your notice, but you are fired. She just shakes his head at him because obviously he's being an ass. Like, he
Mhm.
should have been the one to call social services at least halfway through the day when he couldn't find anybody. And he walks out, slams the door, and she just shakes her head and is like, okay, whatever. Done dealing with him for the day. And then
Yeah.
we see Jack. And Jack is walking into a place and grabs a beer out of the refrigerator, leaning against the wall in his cuteness and his flannel shirts. And who is this person that we see here? He finished that beer already. Like, he literally just walked in and he downed it. And she walks up to him and she's like, oh, he's like, Preacher and Brady, and they're getting in. And she's like, I don't want to hear about it. Don't want to talk about work. And she's undressing him. It's like, really? Wait, what is this about? This is information we did not have before.
Yeah.
Clearly, this
And
is who he's been avoiding to and talking to.
exactly. This is the person he's been doing the hush hush with.
Mm-hmm.
And we're getting down, we're going to get horizontal now, as they say.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
you get to see some of Jack's chest, and
Yeah.
she's, doing her womanly thing.
Yeah. She
With,
definitely, and he's not resisting. I mean, it's
oh, no,
obviously
no.
they've got a relationship of some kind. Yeah.
There is history.
For sure. The horizontal mambo, and we're back at the clinic. Mel's now showered and she's changed. And she's like, Lily, I'm back. And she's looking around, can't seem to find her. And she walks into the exam room. There's double doors that open. And what does she find? She finds
Yes.
Lily.
Lily breastfeeding the baby.
The look on her face of shock. And Lily's look on her face looking at her. Another shock.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh my goodness.
And basically, now, don't get me wrong, other women can breastfeed, but this is a small town.
Yes.
And likelihood of Lily being
of someone
the age
else.
that she is.
Yes.
Exactly.
The likelihood of someone else having milk to nurse another baby in this town.
Right. But also the fact that if you look at Lily's age,
yes,
you would not assume that she could be a wet nurse because of her age and saying that she's got 4 grown children.
Right. So we don't know how old she is, but she's friends with like Connie and Hope and, so she knows she's older.
Yeah, so my estimate, she's in her, I would say, menopausal in that sense. So that's where I will put her as far as that.
And obviously she's nursing a baby. So, what's going on there?
Menopausal women who thought they were in menopause and ended up being pregnant.
Sure.
This is not something
uncommon.
It's not uncommon in our society.
Right. So, wow.
But yeah, that, ladies and gentlemen, is where we end episode
number 2. Yes.
In season 1.
Yes, that one was called Lost. Funny that the next episode, number 3, is called And Found. Can be continuing the story in the next episode.
We will.
Thank you. so much.
Thank
All right. We will continue our rewatch in the next episode. Have a good day.
See you then.
Bye.